Hi, I'm Jim Colucci, author of Golden Girls Forever, an unauthorized look behind the lanai. And here are 5 secrets you didn't know about the Golden Girls. A lot of people often wonder what is the deal with that supposed exclamation mark on the girls' front door. And I have to tell you, the answer is it's an accident. The production designer of the show, Ed Stevenson, had spent a lot of time in Florida. And in Florida, there is a kind of cypress called peckywood, which sounds so southern and sounds like something Blanche would say a lot, doesn't it? But that look was very popular, and so when he came to design the Golden Girls, having a Florida background, he wanted to replicate that. The problem is peckywood is really expensive and kind of exotic and limited to Florida. So he decided he was going to create his own version of peckywood with just decorative paint. So what you see in the show is just regular old plywood, and then creative, really wonderful decorative painters have painted knots and woodwork onto it. The exclamation point was just something they did by accident. Did you know that originally the Golden Girls didn't have a kitchen? Of all the rooms that are most important in that show, when you think of those cheesecake scenes. But the funny thing is, when that pilot was written and the production designers were working off an early draft of the pilot, there weren't any kitchen scenes yet, so they didn't create one. And only at the end of the production did they realize, as they were about to tape this pilot, these girls need a kitchen. Now there's a cheesecake scene. And so that's why if you actually look at the layout of that house, it makes no sense, because that kitchen was tacked on at the last minute. And it was recycled from another Whit Thomas Harris show called It Takes Two, which, here's the link, was set in beautiful Chicago. So instead of the view over the sink being outside their Miami house, it was a Chicago glittering backdrop. Did you know that the Golden Girls, throughout its run, had some really high-profile international fans? In 1988, the girls traveled to London to do a royal variety performance for the Queen and the Queen Mum in particular, who was really a fan. And another story that I love is that one of the biggest fans of the show, apparently, was Cher, who liked to watch the show on videotape when she was working out on her treadmill. And in fact, Cher contacted the show a few times to possibly be on it. It didn't ever end up working out, but if you watch the episode, one of my favorites, Ebb Tide's Revenge with Brenda Vaccaro, that role was written for Cher. Did you know that of the 4 girls, 2 of them apparently like to shop in department stores, because the costume designer, Judy Evans Steele, was able to get clothes for Sophia and Rose right off the rack at high-end department stores like iMagnet and a lot of good stores that are now gone. And sometimes for Sophia, because she was so little, they would be shopping in the girls' or juniors department. But for Dorothy and Blanche, everything was custom made. They didn't feel that there was clothing available out there for a woman of Blanche's age that was sexy enough for her. So they custom designed, especially all those negligees and flowing nightgowns. And then for Dorothy, as you can tell, Bea had a style all her own, with those necklines and the long tunics. So everything Bea wore, they made. And it ended up becoming something funny for the show, because viewers would write in all through the show's run, where can I get that wonderful thing that Bea wore, or that Rue wore? And Judy would have to break their hearts and say, you can't. But she ended up taking pity on some fans, and she would sometimes send them a Xerox, a photocopy of her original sketch with a little piece of fabric, a swatch, pinned to it. So she said, good luck. Did you know that originally there were 4 main characters on the Golden Girls, but they weren't the 4 you're thinking of? Sophia was intended to be a recurring character, and it was Coco who was going to be the 4th regular presence in the house. But once Estelle taped that pilot and got all those laughs, the producers saw the handwriting on the wall and knew that Sophia had to stay and poor Coco had to go. I look forward to meeting you here at the Sheraton Grand Chicago Riverwalk for Golden Con, when we're here from March 31st to April 2nd.